From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Well, hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I am Keith Allen and proudly welcoming you into this Tuesday's edition of For the People on August the 29th, 2017. Kim Jong-un scared the hell out of folks in Japan because their president asked them to seek shelter in Tokyo immediately. Tuesday's launch comes days after the North fired what was assessed to be three short-range ballistic missiles into the sea, and a month after its second test of unconventional ballistic missiles, which analysts say could reach deep into the U.S. mainland when perfected. How dangerous is all of this? Dr. Sebastian Gorka has been following this all. I mean, provocative? What happened? Let's find out.
This is perhaps the most provocative missile launch North Korea has executed. There have been three missile overflights of Japanese territory. There was one in 98, there was one in 2009. This is the third, but the big difference here is that this is a military ballistic missile. Those prior two missiles were for payload delivery of satellites. So this is again ratcheting up provocation in a way we just don't need on the peninsula. And the fact that China has already, through its foreign minister, made a statement about unnecessary provocation tells you just how concerned even China is about this latest launch by North Korea.
And the provocation is North Korea. It's certainly not military exercises that have been executed for decades in South Korea with the United States and its allies. So it's not just that he's looking for any excuse possible. And there are these new tests worrying Washington, absolutely, and our allies, because it presumably puts the North at a step closer towards its goal of an arsenal of nuclear missiles that can reliably target the United States. And, these could target Guam. They could reach the United States for sure.
Well, look, it only flew 1,600 miles. The question is how far, how good is their technology to reach out to Guam? But the point is clear. They've made statements. They've threatened Guam. They constantly threaten the United States. This isn't just about intimidating Japan, one of our key allies in the region. This is also about sending a message to the United States.
Now, South Korea's Air Force effectively fired back at North Korea's missile launch over Japan by conducting a live fire drill involving powerful bombs, according to officials. They said earlier today 4 F-15 fighters dropped 8 Mk-84 bombs that accurately hit targets at a military field north of South Korea's eastern coast. Seoul's presidential spokesperson Park Shuhan said each bomb has an explosive yield of a ton, according to the country's Air Force. So I think they're trying to send them a message to say, no matter what you launch there, just send the word. If we're going in, these things are going to hit you. What they know is that they have such a population in South Korea that it just would not, can I use the word, behoove anybody to make a move. And I think that they certainly do this, realizing that they could kill with what they have right now. And it's not even nukes and conventional weapons, not nukes, but could kill millions of people there in South Korea. But this guy is relentless after Donald Trump said, well, we think that Pyongyang is is exercising restraint. This was military grade over Japan. Can you imagine the people of Tokyo? And now Japan is thinking about, and can you believe this? For those that experienced having a nuke, the only country, by the way, to date, that has experienced being hit by nukes, knows something about it. Remember Hiroshima, Nagasaki? Okay. They're thinking about getting nukes. All right, they're worried. They're concerned. These people have to be stripped from the ability. These people are more frightening than Iran right now, and just given the fact that Iran actually gave them the technology, gave them the know-how and components to actually build this, along with Chinese electronics, to be able to build these things. And I wonder if China now regrets actually allowing them to do these things. I don't know if anybody imagined they would be the menace that they are, but they've always been a menace. So this is not new, strange behavior. But this guy is relentless in scaring the hell out of people. My brother lives in Japan. I am worried about him. I mean, the Fukushima thing, Nagoya, Japan, he teaches English in Nagoya. So if you want to look at your globe and see where he teaches, but loves it there. Loves the Japanese culture, and I'm happy that he's happy. But when things like this happen, I really am concerned. You got loved ones over. A lot of people, there's military over there. We have a base over there. Didn't you know? It's very concerning, to say the least. And Dr. Gorka definitely has his finger and his pulse on this. And by the way, Dr. Gorka did resign, basically feeling like he's going to be able to do a much better job on the, as he put it, on the outside than the inside. And some people have alluded that he might actually team up with Steve Bannon at Breitbart News. So we'll see what happens on there.
Yeah, so I'm not at liberty to talk about the discussions we had with South Korea when I was inside the White House, but missile defense is a topic that, of course, came up with the government of South Korea. But there's many other options, Brian, as well. Also, in the more covert side of things, you've seen a lot of missile tests fail. Most tests actually fail. Sometimes there may be reasons beyond just the incompetence of North Korea for those missile tests.
All right, Dr. Gorka on Fox a little bit earlier.
Look, the president has said repeatedly he takes no options off the table. His determination with the use of force, not only in Afghanistan but in Syria, means that these things are not out of the question. But we don't wish to escalate. North Korea is the escalatory side of this equation right now. We have all kinds of options. We are very close with Prime Minister Abe on these issues. But again, because of proximity, because of leverage, it is always going to return to the question of how does China react, and the words that are coming out of Beijing right now are very, very, very strong.
The world has received North Korea's latest message loud and clear, that this regime has signaled its contempt for its neighbors, for all members of the United Nations, and for minimum standards of acceptance international behavior. Trump said in a written statement released by the White House, threatening and destabilizing actions only increase the North Koreans' regime isolation in the region and among all nations of the world. All options are on the table. In a first, North Korea on Tuesday fired a mid-range ballistic missile designed to carry a nuclear payload that flew over U.S. ally Japan and splashed into the northern Pacific Ocean. Too close for comfort. They're getting further and bolder. And my prediction has been that we're going to have to take military action. And it doesn't have to be nukes, folks. It can be atomic. We have some good technical stuff, but some good old-fashioned shock and awe to just hit them so hard, so fast, that it will pulverize the hell out of their military and anything that they're working on. But it will be nasty. And there are options on the table, military, to do that. China has possibly a channel that somehow might be able to persuade Un to do the right thing, but I just don't see him doing it. It's just further puts everybody in that region in harm, including the United States, and his rhetoric includes the destruction of America. They sound identical. Iran and the mullahs there. This is what they constantly chant: death to America, death to the infidel. That's exactly the chant that's happening with the North Koreans to America. Folks, do you understand how serious this is? It flew over Japan. How scary. It would have been, yes, the mayor of Tokyo told people to get down below, that a missile was coming. They did have, from what I understand, the ability to shoot it down. They didn't, for whatever reason. But now Japan is really seriously looking at definitely getting some military, some defense systems in place, and looking for the U.S. for help on that, and also thinking about having an arsenal of their own. Of course, the United States, the United States would have to approve that, obviously. But we're going to have their back, and we've had their back. They're an ally of ours. But who would be scared? You know what? Given the history of Japan and how have this menace do this particular thing, very frightening. We'll be praying for that situation, and hopefully there's some kind of de-escalation. But again, this guy kills his own family, so nobody succeeds him. Now he's got kids of his own. Somebody says, well, Kim gave birth, I read this earlier this morning, to, I guess he's got three kids now, and that Un apparently loves something more than his nukes, and mentioned a child that was born. Whatever, I don't know if it's 3 different women. I think it goes through women. He's not like faithfully married or anything like that, but another child, and holding another child in his arms while doing these crazy things. I have been talking about this for over a year, about the North's issues, and it just, for anybody that's over there that I've spoken with, they don't see any options right now other than military action. But whatever it is, I would predict, from what they've told me and what I've read and listened to the experts say with Mattis, it's going to be so fast, just like Iraq when we came in initially with Baghdad, the shock and awe experience. But it's going to have to be so precise, and with satellite imagery and everything that we know about what they have buried in their arsenals, all of those would have to be targeted, and it would just have to be such a show of force with our allies together coming over there and just unleashing some whoop-ass on them to shut them down once and for all. And I feel sorry for the innocent folks that live over there. I know it's going to be a weird thing to say, but it might be a blessing in disguise for the way that the gulags and the concentration camps and the folks, the documentaries that I've watched on the way that they beat corpses when they're dead over there, just the nightmares that these poor people, this would be heaven. Well, it would bring them there a lot faster, that's for sure. On my first hour, I mentioned this next story we're about to talk about. And the reason I'm bringing this up once again is Joel Osteen's church was under attack because they didn't open up their church for Sunday services. And because the floodwaters were so high that people couldn't get to the church other than to swim, which was dangerous. And so they put a message on their website telling that they're praying for everybody of Houston and Texas from this floodwaters and to be safe. Something that business would do and churches would do in my area, and probably in your area, and you've probably seen it before because of inclement weather. You close down your church. Well, they've been accused with ABC, USA Today, that they locked their church and they weren't wanting to help people that needed to help and needed a shelter, which turned out to be erroneous. They've had staff workers at the church